What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video I want to talk about Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, my early impressions on this thing. Now, as opposed to the other videos I've done early impressions, I've actually made it the furthest in this game. I'm actually almost at 9 hours played through, which, based off the lengths that I'm kind of seeing, this game can be anywhere between like 14, 15, 16, or then going into the 20s, depending on what you do. I'm kind of that completionist, especially with these Yakuza games. I love to kind of just at least try everything in the game. So I'm not going for the 100%, but I'm definitely playing as if I was going for it. So I'm doing all the side quests. I'm doing all of the Coliseum, the pirate fights. I'm doing all of those. I'm getting the best scores at golf and baseball and just everything that you can possibly do in this game. I'm doing a lot of it. So I'm probably only a third. It's probably going to take me closer to 25 to 30 hours to beat this thing. Then again, 15 if you kind of rush it. But just to give you guys kind of some stats of like how long the game is, how long I've played it, I'm loving it. Now, there are some issues, and I do want to talk about some of those issues here, but, going in, I was expecting certain things, I wanted certain things, and it hasn't been exactly what I thought it was going to be, but it's actually kind of odd because, these games to me are just so legendary. I've fallen in love with the series over the last 2-3 years, and I've played almost every single one of these games in just like a 2-3 year span. So I'm proud of myself. I feel like I absolutely do love it, and it always kind of gives me something a little bit different, but it also finds a way to get me in immediately no matter what, no matter the shortcomings. So to quickly pick on those shortcomings, okay? The story, well, I actually do think the story is quite good. In fact, I think the story is better than I thought it was going to be, at least leading up. What the reviews said with the story made it sound really, really bad. I think it's fine. I think it's actually pretty darn good. What I will say, though, is I think this is one of those cases where the story could probably, at least so far, could be told to somebody in 10 minutes, and they are stretching it across 5 chapters and 20 hours. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Plenty of games, at the end of the day, you play a 20-hour game, you could probably tell that story in less than an hour, right? There's a lot of padding, there's a lot of left and right turns that they do to kind of stretch it out. This game, I feel like, has more than that, though. Like the base idea of what you're doing and the pirate kind of adventure could probably be summed up in a less than 10-minute type video. Maybe I can try it one day, but no, so that slight weakness, but at the same time, I'm actually having a lot of fun with the story. I think the characters, the new characters they introduced, Jason, Noah, a lot of these guys, they're really cool. They're really, really nice characters. I really am liking the relationship between Majima and Noah. Majima's kind of weird. He is a weird character just in general, but he finds himself in a strange spot here because he doesn't act like the crazed lunatic that he sometimes can be in these Yakuza games, but he also isn't acting like the Yakuza 0 pre-Mad Dog ways of living, I guess, right? So I guess I should have expected that because he has amnesia, but the weakness, I would say, is just that he kind of feels like this clean slate character that doesn't have a lot, he's empathetic for sure, but he doesn't stand out as much as, actually, he normally stands out a lot. He's not standing out as much, and I think it's probably because he's not acting really like either version of himself all the way. So I'm only I'm at the end of chapter 2. There's 5 in all. Maybe something switches as these chapters continue to go. But so far, if there has been disappointments, he would kind of be, maybe not a full-on disappointment, but he would be a weaker element. And probably the final thing I would throw in as a disappointment is the complexity of the ship fights. Now, I didn't record myself doing this because I just kind of went on a binge, and I just did this for an hour and a half last night, but I did the Coliseum, and I just did battle after battle after battle, and I just started freaking ranking up everything possible. But, I would say this. The ship fights have this arcadey, again, almost like you can kind of sit back and just turn your brain off and just engage, level up your crew, level up this or level up that, but kind of not really be in it. And I feel, I'll say this, in terms of the mechanics, I think the AI is not as good as I would want it to be. what I have found so often, and I'm going somewhere with this, okay? The complexity. Not only are like the cannons and stuff like that, there's not too much complexity with the actual, firing things, that you're doing. Now, you can upgrade them, yes, and, there is a little bit, but it's not as much as I would have thought there would be, but also just in how you actually fight. So you kind of pull up, and what normally happens with the AI is you can shoot them with the machine guns, like the front kind of weapons. The AI will like always turn exactly at the same moment every time, no matter what. So like you and the AI will come like barreling down, both of you heading straight at each other, and the AI will always turn at a certain distance and then just fire at you. And it's so repetitive. They don't have these like massive smarts. And I also think just because of the camera angle, the way that it is, like being so pulled up, I do like the idea of being able to kind of go down and use the rocket launcher and shoot and stuff, but it doesn't have that same AC Black Flag magic. I wasn't, look, did this game have potential? It sure did, but could it ever actually be the AC Black Flag 2 we were hoping? I don't think so, and I think that this has kind of just proven it to me that the ship combat is fine. I like, again, the repetitiveness is okay. Like, honestly, you kind of just get into it where you take down these ships. It is engaging enough. It is rewarding enough to see these ships blow up or, shoot flames, and it can get kind of chaotic if you're facing multiple ships at once. And then boarding them and you going into the classic style, brawler style of Yakuza, that is a lot of fun, okay? So, again, I would say really with all of these weaknesses, it's almost like a but. There's a weakness, but there's also kind of a strength to it, but it's also not that bad. And I think that's a good thing, okay? Now, everything else I didn't say is pretty much a strength of this game. The mini games, I think, are phenomenal. I love the cooking. I mean, Majima being like a 5-star chef is awesome to me. And those are just fun. Those are just really, really fun. Having like a Animal Kingdom type situation, I think, is awesome. Recruiting pirates. They recycle so much, obviously, right? And some of the recycling I'm not a huge fan of. Some of the mini games, like in Honolulu and stuff. But other ones, like the actual recruiting or the friendship, like the friend app, I like all of those. And just being able to recruit a pirate and each of them kind of having their own thing, right? So they might have a different ceiling of their level cap. They might specialize at something. They might need you to pay them in order to recruit them. They might need you to fight them in order to recruit them. They might need you to have so many friends or have such a rank, your pirate rank, in order to bring them in. So there's like mini games on top of mini games. On top of, again, like I mentioned, baseball, there's a baseball thing. There's golf. There's, of course, like the claw machines. There's so much, I think, just generally really fun stuff to do in it. The combat, I honestly, it's tough to say because I want to say it's better than ever. I haven't, it's been a little while. Like I said, I played all these games in a very close span, but it's been, a couple of years since I did it. I feel like this is the best that style has ever been. Majima has always been really, really fun to play as, and you think about him in Yakuza 0. Both his styles are awesome. Like the Mad Dog style, I kind of default to, but then the Sea Dog one is I would say equally as fun. It's engaging. It has some complexity to it. Of course, you can level up and stuff and try to make as much money as humanly possible. But the fighting in this game is generally really, really good, and you go back to it quite often. So I think they did a good job there. And like I said, story and characters, I think honestly in a lot of ways better than I thought it was going to be. With Majima kind of just being, he's there, but I definitely need more. But I think as I went through specifically the pros and cons, the one big pro is just fun. I have sunk like 9 hours in like 2 days, and this is before like I'm recording this. The rest of the day that you guys are seeing this, I'm probably going to be playing this game. So I'm going to get, 12, 13, 14 hours in. I'm just having so much fun. It's got that Yakuza charm. So if you're wondering, and maybe you saw the reviews and you said, man, because I saw reviews that said like it didn't even match up to like Gaiden. And Gaiden, being a spin-off game, now that game had a lot of heart, right? The story had a lot of emotion. I don't sense that here. I don't think the story is going to match up. But I think a lot of the other elements are actually better than Gaiden. I'm having more fun. So I don't know, like, again, I'm only like a third of the way through, and I'm playing as if I'm going for 100%, but I imagine I'm going to put like 30 hours into this game. And it's just a game, again, even with its shortcomings, and it does have it. It has enough where you can tell it's a spin-off game where it's not really trying to establish itself in any actual, direction. You know what I mean? It's not trying to be the best pirate game of all time. It's not trying to be the best story Yakuza game they've ever done. It's not trying this or that, right? It's not trying to reinvent any wheel or push anything to be the best that it's ever been. Maybe the fighting, but, the fighting's been turn-based and it's gone back, forth. But at the end of the day, it still has that Yakuza charm where it gets you immediate. Even if it's not doing the best that it can. These games always do that. No matter if it's one of the weaker entries or one of the better entries, you still have like 90 things to do. You still have some engaging side stuff. The side missions, by the way, I'm really liking. I've only done maybe like 6 or 7. They're actually pretty good. Some of them are very funny. Some of them actually have a lot of heart. So I'm liking the side stuff so far. You know what I mean? All of these games always do that, and this game does it. It's got enough stuff to do. It's got things that are very familiar to you, and it introduces the new stuff that you haven't done before. And some of those are hits and misses, and some of them have hits even if they're not as strong as you think they're gonna be. Like the ship stuff is still, I think, like a net positive, even though it's not as good as I thought it was gonna be. But a new coming thing like baseball, shooting, hitting balls against like the barrels and blowing it up. That's a cool little Tetris-y mini game that, it doesn't make it like a 10 out of 10. It doesn't raise the score by like a point, but it's there. It makes a small difference in the whole thing. And they have a couple of things, like that. So I'm having a blast. I'm really, really loving it. And I'll tell you, in some ways, I'm loving it more than I thought I was going to love it, which is, I would say, if you watch some of my videos leading into this thing, I love the franchise, but I'm also hard on the franchise because I want the best for it. So I would say that's a pretty good, indication if I'm saying that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.